I want to see if the new ChatGPT 4o is actually as good as OpenAI says it is. So I'm putting it to the test today with 5 super common use cases for me as an online business owner. And I'm going to compare the results of those use cases from GPT-4o, GPT-4 Turbo, and Claude 3 Opus. I'm first going to test having the AI write an email. Then I'm going to test its data analytics skills. Then I'm going to test comprehension of a long PDF. Then its summarization skills of a call transcript. And then finally, I'm going to test its brainstorming capabilities and have it write me ad copy, specifically meta ad copy. So Facebook and Instagram ad copy. I'll do each of these use cases in each of these models and then see which results I like best. So the first use case of writing an email, I've already written the prompt. All the prompts I'm going to use today are the exact same ones that I will use in GPT-4 and also in Claude. So whatever I use in GPT-4, I'm also using in Claude. The only difference is going to be the slight difference in formatting of the section headers. So in GPT-4, I'm going to use Markdown, and in Claude, I'll use XML tags when appropriate. For some of the prompts, I don't. All right, so on the screen here, this is the prompt I've already written to write an email. This is actually an email series. We're only going to do one email though, and I've already written the entire prompt. I have added in my target audience already. I've added in my tone of voice, my writing style, so it writes in that format. So I've already done all those things. So I'm going to copy the prompt, and now let's go over to GPT-4. Okay, so I have pasted that prompt right here into ChatGPT. I'm using the ChatGPT-4, the GPT-4o model. O stands for Omni, by the way. And let's hit go and put this prompt into action. So the first thing that I notice about GPT-4o as it writes is super fast. So all of the hype around the speed of GPT-4o, I would say, yes, absolutely. It's very fast. So it has written me a full-on email and then given me 5, as instructed in the prompt, given me 5 subject line ideas. So everything looks good. I like the sections in the email, and I did ask it to ask me at the end of the email that it's written for feedback and approval. It will not move on to the next email to write the next email, in this case here, until I give it approval. So it's saying, how does this first email sound? Let me know if there are any tweaks or additional details you'd like to add. And so I could just simply say approved and it would write the next email. But for this example here, I'm not going to. I think this is pretty good. I like the formatting, skimmable, which is how I write. So now let's test this in GPT-4 Turbo and see what happens. Now, OpenAI has put in this really handy model changer at the bottom. And rather than starting a new chat or anything, all I have to do is click this GPT-4, which is Turbo, and it will automatically start executing that prompt. And I'll have 2 different tabs here with the results. So let's do that. So as you can see here, right off the bat, it's slower. Okay, so check out what GPT-4 Turbo started with. It says, great, let's start with the first email, which is all about delivering a lead magnet. Before I write the email, could you tell me what the lead magnet is? This will help me tailor the content and subject lines more effectively. Isn't that interesting? Because GPT-4o didn't do that. It just went right into fill in the blank of your lead magnet name. I absolutely like the fact that it's asking me what the lead magnet is that it is delivering this email about right here in the prompt. So let's give it the lead magnet. So I've just now put this is a fictional lead magnet. I'm calling it the AI prompt generator. And I just gave a simple 1-line benefit-driven statement about it. So let's see what it does with this information. So I think it's actually still pretty fast. It's not quite as fast as GPT-4o. So it's just finished generating generating this output here. And again, I like the fact that it asked me the question of what lead magnet. So this email sequence prompt is for the delivery of a lead magnet. So this first email is delivering a lead magnet and letting people know what to expect. So I like the fact that because it now knows the name of and benefit of the lead magnet, it's contextually relevant now to in the email here. So I like that aspect of it. What I think GPT-4o did a better job of is simply the format of the email. I think this is cleaner, especially with the sections like what's next, and then it gives your action plan. So I like that better again, but I don't like the fact that it didn't ask me upfront for the name of the lead magnet so that it could make this email more contextually relevant. So both sides to it. It's not a clear winner for me in terms of GPT-4o. I would lean more towards GPT-4 Turbo for this specific use case. Now let's go over and test this in Claude 3 Opus. Okay, here we are in Claude. You can see I've chosen the Opus model, and it is the exact same prompt I just used in ChatGPT. The only thing I've done is change the formatting a little bit, changing the markdown that I use for the section headers, and instead put XML tags for the section headers and to end each section. Only change I've done. So let's see what Claude gives us here. All right, so I love Claude's response right off the bat. It also asked for the name of the lead magnet because that's what the email is delivering that we're writing here. And then also a brief description of the lead magnet saying, once you provide these details, I'll then generate this first email. After receiving your feedback and approval, I'll proceed to create the subsequent emails in the sequence following the outline, structure, and guidelines. Okay, cool. I love that response. Let's put the name and the same exact thing I put into GPT. So now it's writing subject lines and the email itself. I would say the speed is akin to GPT-4 Turbo, which, I mean, it's writing it pretty fast. Not quite as fast as GPT-4o, but in this case here, speed doesn't really matter a whole lot to me. I want to see a really good response here. Okay, I've just read through this. By far, it sounds more human than GPT-4o or Turbo. It's kind of what I expected. I find Claude writes a lot more human-like. And I like the subject lines. I mean, they're nothing groundbreaking here. I would probably put into the prompt the length of the subject line that I want it to generate. And I like the email itself. I would probably do a slightly different formatting, but for the actual email writing itself and how it sounds, I like Claude better. So I'd say maybe for this use case of writing an email, I would say Claude is the winner of this one because number one, it asked me the questions of the lead magnet and a little information about it before writing the email. GPT-4o did not do that. And then secondly, I think the writing of the actual email, how it sounds, is more like me and more human-like. So I'm going to give this one to Claude 3 Opus. For use case number 2, I want to test the data analysis skills of these 3 models here. My expectation is that GPT-4o should be superior between GPT-4o Turbo and Claude 3 Opus. Claude 3 Opus is not necessarily known for its data analysis, but let's see what happens here. So on the screen here, you can see this is just hypothetical sales performance data, and I've just taken a screenshot of this information. So not only am I going to test the vision aspect of the models, but I'm also going to test its data analysis. So I've taken a screenshot of that data in the spreadsheet. I've attached it here in ChatGPT, and I've written a prompt here. It's not very long. And I also haven't formatted the prompt like I normally do, but it is a very detailed and explicit prompt. So I just want to see what it does with this. So basically what I'm doing is I'm asking it to analyze the data on that image for monthly sales growth, customer retention, website conversion rate, average order value, sales forecast, customer segmentation. And then once it gives me that data, I then want it to provide some actionable suggestions for how to continue to scale the business based on this data. I think this is a really good test. Let's do it. So it's giving me the output pretty quickly, but I will say the analysis of the data, it took longer than I expected, especially from this newest model. In reviewing the results here, it's pretty good. I like how it broke it out. It gave me the monthly sales growth by percentage month over month, customer retention rate in a percentage format, website conversion rate trends, average order value. I wonder if I could do this in a table format so it's easier to do something with, but that's okay. It gave me the sales forecast for the predicted sales for the next quarter, customer segmentation ratio of new to returning customers. This is really good. And then it gave me a bunch of recommendations for sustainable growth for this hypothetical business based on all of that data. So I like it. I like this output quite a bit. So with that, now let's test GPT-4 Turbo. Okay, and the results are in. I think it actually was a slightly faster in the analysis of that data. And I gotta say, I like this output a lot better because it broke it, it just simply broke it out by the month, like January to February, gave it the percentage increase. And then it gave a little additional information that analyzes this data. So the sales growth rate shows a robust upward trend. So it just sort of summarizes that data. And it did that throughout all of the data analysis. Then down at the recommendations for sustainable growth, it looks to be about the same as GPT-4o, but I gotta say, I like this better. I like the output better than GPT-4o. I think it's more helpful. So let's go test this in Claude 3 Opus. Okay, we're in Claude now, and I have put in the exact same prompt. I haven't made any changes to it, even the formatting, and I have again included a screenshot of the sales performance data. So let's see what it gives us. Okay, and here is the output. I will say that Claude was faster than both GPT-4o or GPT-4 Turbo, and the results are more similar to what GPT-4 Turbo gave me in terms of the percentages. I would say I probably like the GPT-4 Turbo results a little bit better there. It gave the customer retention rates broken out by month, and again gave a little analysis here, website conversion rates, average order value, sales forecasting in each one, and then gave 6 different recommendations. I would say the recommendations are about the same across GPT and also Claude. This is what I find really interesting between these 3 results. Each of these models gave different forecasts for Q3. So Claude obviously broke this out by month and then gave a total for Q3 forecast. In GPT-4o, gave me a Q3 forecast of 35,000. It didn't really break it out by month or anything like that. And then in Turbo, it gave me a completely different, this is closer to, I would say, at least closer to Claude, but again, it gave a completely different answer here to forecasting. I like how it broke it out. I would have preferred it give me a total. So I would want to definitely fact check all of these results from any of these models. With that said, I would say I like Claude's response better. Again, it's telling me an average 17% monthly growth rate versus GPT telling me a conservative average growth rate of 10% per month. Now it's being more conservative. So, all right, cool. I would say overall though, I like a little bit of a combination of GPT-4 Turbo results and the Claude results. I just like they're fairly similar, but what I liked that Claude did is it gave more of an analysis on potential improvements to the data in addition to the recommendations at the bottom. I like the recommendations at the bottom from GPT-4 Turbo better, but either way, I think GPT-4o did not perform as well on this data analysis. Now, with that said, we need to fact check these numbers because each of these models gave different results in terms of forecasted numbers and so forth. So I'd want to check those. But yeah, I liked the GPT-4 Turbo and Claude responses better for this data analysis use case. For this third use case, I want to test the comprehension skills of the AI models. What I'm going to do here is I've written a prompt that analyzes an attached PDF. It's a long PDF, and I want it to give me a solid comprehension of the text and make recommendations to me based on its comprehension of that text. And I've chosen for the text, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It's a long PDF. It's like 265 pages. So it first has to analyze that long PDF. And then I've asked it to give me daily practice suggestions on how I can implement the principles from this book. So here we are in GPT-4o. I've already put the prompt in here. Again, it's going to be the exact same prompt. And let's see what this says. The first thing I noticed with GPT-4o is it is super fast. It is analyzing a 265-page document very quickly. And let's review this complete output. It broke down the different sections of the book: fundamental techniques, 6 ways to make people like you, etc., etc. So basically all the principles from the book, which is great. But I asked it to create a daily practice schedule based on the principles. I didn't necessarily ask it to give me the principles, but hey, that's cool that it did. So it actually gave me a full day's routine, and it broke it down by time blocks throughout the day. So morning reflection, reflect on things that you appreciate, write down 3 things you're grateful for, review 1 principle from the book each day and think of how you can apply it. I don't love that because I asked it to give me a daily practice, putting into play or putting into use the principles from the book. So it's almost like I have to go back and reference the principles, and I want it to incorporate that into the daily plan. Start with positive feedback, encourage team members to share their thoughts and ideas, respond to customer emails or comments with genuine interest and appreciation. That's kind of weird. So I'm not super impressed with this. And then it just said suggestions for tracking progress, which I did ask it to give me, which I like that. I like those responses. Then it gave me some additional tips and resources. Thank you, GPT-4o. Now let's see what GPT-4 Turbo does with this use case. So the first thing I noticed was it was definitely slower in its analysis, but it still astounds me how fast it just analyzed a 265-page PDF. Now, what it's doing here is it's following the same sort of thing that it did with GPT-4o, and it's giving me the different sections and main principles, and then giving me bullet points and so forth. Then for the daily practice schedule, it broke it down into morning, midday, and evening time blocks, essentially. It didn't give me specific times, which is fine. And let's see here. I like what it did. I think it feels more specific to the actual principles of the book, meaning like outline your key business interactions, focusing on how you can make each interaction pleasant. Think about specific interactions you anticipate for the day and how you can apply principles. During business interactions, focus on becoming genuinely interested in other people, smiling and using their names. Those are direct things from the book. So I like this better than GPT-4o. I think this is I think it's a better, more actionable daily plan, which is what I'm asking for in the prompt. So winner for this one goes to GPT-4 Turbo. let's see what Claude 3 Opus can do. Okay, I've just pasted the exact same prompt into Claude 3. You can see I'm using the Opus model again. I've attached the PDF of the book, and let's see what it gives us. So the first thing I notice is by far Claude is the slowest in processing that book and analyzing the PDF. However, after it's processed it, you can see how fast it is giving the results here. Okay, so in looking at the output from Claude here, I very much like both GPT models in their principles and how they formatted the principles. I like that a lot better than just, 1 through 20 that Claude has just given me. However, the daily practice schedule, which is what I'm really looking for from this prompt, I like this better than either of the GPT models because it's more specific. It breaks down client communication, content creation, afternoon outreach, marketing meeting, evening reflection. I like how specific it is rather than saying, oh, do this during this time block or something like that. So I will say that for Claude, I like the actual output from the practice schedule, which is what I was really after. However, I like GPT-4 Turbo and GPT-4o better in terms of the principles a lot. So again, I would say this is a combined winner, GPT-4 Turbo and Claude 3 Opus. If I could combine the two, I would like that the best in terms of an output. But again, I'm not impressed with GPT-4o in terms of how it handled this use case. For this next use case, I want to test the summarization skills of a transcript. This is a transcript of a call I had with somebody on my team last week, and I've written a prompt. It's very simple. So basically what I'm doing is I'm asking it to provide a summary of the transcript of the call, and then also give me the main action items and deliverables from that call, in addition to the summary. The call is about an hour long, so the transcript is fairly robust. Again, let's start with GPT-4o and see what it gives us. Okay, so again, the speed that GPT-4o is doing this specific task and a couple of the other ones there is very fast. I like how it is breaking down the main points, the summary of the call, and it's even doing it in little sections, giving me a section header. I like all that. And I really like the actionable takeaways and deliverables, who's responsible, the deadline, and the details. I like everything that it did with this. So this one is going to be hard to beat. So I think this result here from GPT-4o is going to be pretty hard to beat, but let's see what GPT-4 Turbo does with this. And here is the result from GPT-4 Turbo. It gave me 3 bullet points at the top in terms of key points discussed, some decisions made, next steps, and then actionable takeaways and deliverables, which is pretty good. Let's again take a quick look at GPT-4o, and I like this result a lot better. So in terms of GPT, I very much like GPT-4o better in terms of summarization of this transcript and giving me actionable takeaways and deliverables. Let's go see what Claude can do. Same exact prompt, just attach the transcription to the prompt and let's see what Claude comes up with. And here are the results, and I will say that it's good, but by far I like GPT-4o's output better. It's just, it just looks just crammed in here. It's not organized super well. It's not easy to read and flow like GPT-4o was. So for me, for the summarization, GPT-4o by far is the winner for this use case. Okay, for this last use case, I wanted to test the brainstorming skills of each of these models. And of course, you can do this in any number of ways. I wanted to, because this is a common use case in my business, I wanted to see if it could brainstorm some great meta ad copy. So Facebook and Instagram ad copy. I've written a prompt for that. it's a really good prompt. And again, we're going to start in GPT-4o. I've also already put in all the necessary information in terms of the offer, target audience, my brand voice, all that stuff. I've already put that into the prompt, but we're going to use the exact same prompt again across all of the models. So let's see what GPT-4o gives us. So the first thing I do notice is that, like the other use cases, 4o is really fast in how it's executing this task. So what I've asked it to do in the prompt is to write 4 different variations of ad copy, both long and short form ad copy. And then for each ad copy variation, I've asked it to give me 5 different hook ideas that I potentially could use in the first sentence of the ad copy. So check this out, and I'm looking at it and it looks okay. I mean, I wouldn't just copy and paste this copy by any stretch. So yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's decent. I will say the one thing that it did not do is give me any kind of longer form copy variations. Now, I fully understand that AI still has a challenge with shorter and longer, but I still would have expected it to, at least, especially GPT-4o, since it's a new model, to follow that a little bit more closely. I will say also, the one thing I didn't do in the prompt is I didn't define what longer form ad copy looks like. I just wanted to see what it would give me and see how well it followed the prompt. All right, let's test this in GPT-4 Turbo. So far, I am not impressed with the results that 4o gave me. And here are the GPT-4 Turbo results. I mean, look at the difference here. This is not very good. Number one, right off the bat, in the prompt, I am very specific saying to make the copy skimmable, short sentences, more paragraphs. GPT-4o did that. Turbo here did not do that, absolutely did not do that. Also, there's no longer form copy variations here as well. Notice too that it put the hook ideas for each ad copy in its own section. I liked how GPT-4o actually included those with the respective ad copy variation. So not impressed with 4 Turbo at all on this. The winner for this one in terms of GPT definitely goes to 4o, but let's see what Claude can do with this. All right, in Claude, I've just put the exact same prompt in here again. And by the way, in this prompt here, I'm having it write ad copy for my AIFI Lab membership community. If you're interested in checking that out, I'll put a link down below of the video here. Let's see what Claude gives us in terms of ad copy variations. And here is the output from Claude. It went a little overboard with the emojis, but that can be cleaned up. I don't specify emojis in the brand voice paragraph in the prompt, but this sounds, number one, the formatting is much better with the bullet points. I like it. Again, it sounds more human in the copy, so it's better. It's also seems a little bit longer than anything that GPT gave. Again, same thing. I like the formatting of it. I like the hook better, and then also gave the hook ideas along with the actual variation. The only thing I don't love is that it kind of took the same format all throughout each of these variations here. And I mean, obviously it changed up the copy and the hooks, but it didn't get creative at all in terms of the format of the actual ad copies. So I would ask it to change that. I would also ask it to use fewer emojis, but in terms of how it's written, Claude is by far better in terms of how the copy sounds. So this use case, I'm going to give the win to Claude simply because of the fact that the copy sounds more human and I can more easily adapt this prompt to get more to what I would be actually looking for. And either model, I would also give it an example of longer form ad copy versus shorter form ad copy so it can be more specific in the output. There you have it, comparing the 3 models, GPT-4o, GPT-4 Turbo, and Claude 3 Opus across 5 super common online business use cases from my business as an online business owner. I gotta say, I'm not super impressed with GPT-4o's output. I love its speed, but I think between these use cases, between GPT-4 Turbo and Claude, I liked the responses a lot better, except for the summarization and analyzing the transcript. So I will give it to GPT-4o on that one, but otherwise, I'm not super impressed with it in terms of its outputs from its prompts. With that said, I am very excited about the voice aspects of GPT-4o, having it be more and act more as like a personal assistant that you can talk to and have conversations with. There is emotion now baked into GPT-4o, and that's exciting. So that'll be super fun to be able to play with and test. In terms of prompt output, not super impressed other than the speed. So I do hope that that improves. But yeah, I think this is a perfect example here today in this video that you still need to test the other models to get the best results possible for whatever use case that you are doing in your business. All right, my friend, thank you so much. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe to the channel. And if you have any questions, comments, feedback, as always, put them in the comments below. And I'll see you in the next video.